Hello, all my YouTube friends. Today we're going to take you on an adventure on how to recover a damaged high tunnel. And we got to redo all the plastic. We have a lot of work to do on it. So come along with us and we'll walk you through this whole thing. Folks, you can see the damage all was done on this high tunnel. The weeds that grew on the outside that we didn't get taken care of. Now we got to cut the rest of the plastic off. And they got what they call wiggle wire that holds the plastic on. We got to take it all out. So we'll show you after a while when we do some work on it. Folks, as you can see, most of the plastic we got off, and this is a pretty big job to get all new plastic put on. You can't do it when it's too hot. You can't do it when it's too cold. It's kind of like baby bear's porridge. It has to be just right. But we got to take this wiggle wire out, and we'll show you what we're doing here. This is what holds your plastic on. You just go up and down with it. It's called wiggle wire. There's one piece there. You got to take them off down the whole length of this building. Folks, because of the high winds that hit this high tunnel, it bent the hoops of the high tunnel. Plus it shoved one pipe plumb through the end of the plastic on the east wall. So we also have to knock all that back. We got to get everything lined up again as good as we can before we even start thinking about putting plastic on. Now, although it ripped our plastic off, bent some of our hoops, when we built this thing, I knew it was best to put in 4x6 posts, and they got 4x8 sheet insulated plastic. That's what we wanted on both ends, because I didn't think the regular plastic would hold up to the winds we get. And it turned out, at least one time in my life, I was correct. So the only reason why the high tunnel is still on this farm is because them 4x6 posts that we put on each end, it saved the high tunnel. We lost the plastic, but you can buy plastic a lot cheaper than you can a whole high tunnel. In fact, I might not should take all the credit. I think the Lord had a hand in it, because without him, I probably wouldn't have had that thought in the first place. So let's give him a thumbs up for helping me out. And then these walls that we build on the east and west side, on the east side, we built an overhead roll-up door, which is really, really nice. It can seal a lot better. And on the west side, we just built a walk-through door. And it was homemade, but it's well built, and it didn't bother either one of them. So Adam's up on a ladder, and what he's doing, all of our wooden posts, you have corners or rough edges. We put heavy tape on top of them so it don't wear through the plastic. And he's also went to beat that pipe back that I told you that come through the end of our wall. He has to beat that back, so otherwise that ain't going to work. It'll ruin our plastic. So he beat it back flush and tighten everything down. So that's one step closer to putting on the plastic. Folks, we was getting ready to roll the plastic out to the whole length of the high tunnel. But before that, because we have weeds, we have sandburrs, I actually brought in compost that was already rotted down like dirt. You can't have nothing sharp. And I just put a layer of that down so we can unroll our plastic on. Now, if you just got good, nice green grass, you're fine. That won't hurt nothing. But if you got anything sharp, the last thing you want to do is put any holes in that plastic. So we unrolled it all the way. And then when you get unrolled, you start unfolding it until you get the inside layer. And then you got to make sure you got the right side that's going to be on top, because on this one here, it's called the Sun Master. They put their name on the outside because that's UV protected. And that's got to be on top where the sun hits it. And you do that with your first layer, And then when you get that all on, you do your second layer the same way. Make sure you got the right side up. But when you unroll that and you keep unfolding it, you'll see the inside layer. So then what we do, we take ropes and we'll tie them to a tennis ball. Finally, my son-in-law took an old hardball, baseball, drilled a hole, we put a rope through it. That worked better. Except for the guys on the other side, they had to duck and run. So, but I had somebody, some wise guy on the other side saying, "Come on, David, throw that sling and throw that ball on the other side." It took me a couple of times, but I got onto it. I don't think I'd want to fight Goliath. I'd probably use a gun, but when I had a sling, I'd need a little more practice. So after you throw the tennis balls over, after I got used to doing that, on the other side, you have to tie either you fold your plastic over and put it on a tennis ball, so you'll have a knot like that, or you can use old rags, put them in a ball, fold your plastic over it and tie a rope around it. And that rope then is from the side you threw it over, you tie it on all down through there. And the more people you got to do this, the better. But then when you pull, the ropes to hold because they're underneath a knot, a wad of something. So we pull it across. It worked really well. On your first layer, Adam had to get up there on a ladder, and he had to go from one end to the other because where it goes over the end, that's where it wants to hold back on you. And you don't want to tear the plastic. So he would help catch up on both ends so we could get it over evenly. Now, after the first layer's done, the second layer, that's no problem because that plastic's really slick, it slides really nice, and you won't have that issue. There it goes. Attaboy. So what we did after our first layer, since the wind was blowing so hard, we had a bunch of 4x4, short 4x4 pieces that when we tore the greenhouse down, we used them to lay down on the ground on top of the plastic, right against the shed, right against the high tunnel. And that way we could pull it a little tight. And then we laid 4x4s down on the other side to kind of hold it down. So, because the wind was kind of giving us some problems. But when you pull your second one over, then you can do the same thing. Just roll them back some, put your second layer, then roll them back on your second layer. On a high tunnel, you've got an 1.25 inch pipe. It'll run the whole distance. That's like 72 feet long. So you have a 72-foot sections of pipe, the whole length. And what we did with our plastic, which is plenty long, but we cut it off till we have about 1.5 feet after it hits the ground. And then you lay your pipe on top of that, the whole length of your high tunnel. And then they got little saddle clamps that goes over that clamps the plastic to the pipe. Then they got a hole where you put a self-tapping screw in every one of them little saddles. And that's what holds your plastic on your pipes. So then when you start rolling your pipe up, that takes all the slack out of that bottom 4 feet. On each side of the high tunnel, you have the end of these pipes, they have a roll-up mechanism. And you can crank that, and you can roll up the sides up to about, I'd say, close to 4 feet. So in the summer, the weather gets hot, you can roll them up. And that way you let cool air in. In the winter, you roll them all the way back down. And then you can put your wiggle wire on the ends from 4 foot down. You can put wiggle wire to hold them tight all winter. Then in the spring, you take your wiggle wire out, and that allows you to be able to crank them up. Yeah, Adam here. He's getting excited about getting that wiggle wire in, and we were rooting him on till we figured out we can't do that till we put the second layer of plastic on. So he had to take it back out and wait till we got the second wire on. So, but he didn't get too far. Somebody noticed it and says, we need another layer of plastic first. So we got her figured out. But this wiggle wire on this picture right here it's really good to look at it, watch him, because you bend it down and the top will go in, and you bend it up and the bottom goes in. That's why they call it wiggle wire. But I guarantee you, every inch of that plastic can blow off of there, but that plastic behind them wiggle wire is not coming out. It'll hold. I don't care how hard the wind blows. That's still going to be there. As you've seen in the beginning of the film, we had them plastic still hanging onto the sides. That's because the wiggle wire had it. It would not let it go. And then we'll start our wiggle wire down one whole side from one end to the other. And then when other side that's not done, we got to make sure it's tight enough. Some people, we actually had guys on the other side that would pull on a little bit, and then Adam, he would go over the hoop. He started at the bottom where a wiggle wire was, went over to the top and down the other side. So we did one side, and then because the wind was blowing so hard, we did the one end. We thought that worked pretty good, so we went on the other end, the east end, pulled it tight, and put a wiggle wire all the way around that, and then we did our north side wiggle wire last. And all the while, we leave the 4x4s down holding the plastic, because the bottom half is different. Once you put your wiggle wire down the whole side, you have about 4 feet from there down to the ground that has nothing. So on that tracking, when you lay it flat, you can bend it. So you can put it on top and bend it all the way down. We went down to that 4-foot level where our side tracking goes with our wiggle wire. But on the inside, about 8 or 10 inches, right on the face of the wall, we had to cut angles, but we took it from the top all the way down to the ground. And then in the winter, when you let your side panels all the way down, you can fold that over and you can put wiggle wire in that. And the rest of it we leave on. From that point all the way up through the top, down to the other 4-foot side, we leave that on all the time. We figured that really helped us during the wind, so wind can't get underneath it. But from your 4 foot down, we could take that out in the summer so you can roll your sides up. We put our eye bolts in. The top row, we go every other hoop, we put one in. And then bottom, below that pipe that you roll up, we put one every other hoop, but it's between these two. So if you got 2 here, then on the bottom it'd be in the middle. So it'd be like a V all the way down through there. So when you run your rope up and down, you look like continual V's from one end to the other. And when you tighten that down, that keeps your lower sides down. And then, but it still lets you to be able to roll up your sides. It'll keep tension on them. And then on top of the high tunnel, that's where you use your top rolls of bolts. And folks, I don't think high tunnels say that you need to do this, but we put our eye bolts in and we throw ropes across and we crisscross our ropes. It makes like big X's on top. And we know for a fact that's really going to help protect your plastic. When you get high winds, when you got it all roped down like that on the crisscross, we've seen it really made a difference. And another thing helps you, when you got double layer, you got an air pump that pumps air in there. Well, that keeps everything tight. So when your wind's blowing, it ain't fluctuating up and down, flopping up and down. It helps keep everything tight. And we found out that if you double plastic it, first it makes it warmer. Secondly, it'll last longer. But you can do a single plastic if you want, but use them ropes. And ropes make a big, big difference. Well, folks, as you can see, our high tunnel was all up. And it was kind of amazing. Some people come from Miss Church on a Sunday morning to come help us. And it brings to mind where a lot of people would condemn that, but where Jesus said, if an oxen stuck in the ditch, who wouldn't pull him out? Well, we was getting in a position where if it gets too cold, we cannot put this plastic on here. And we needed plastic this winter. I parked my skid loader in there. I need it for extra protection so it'll start. It's diesel. And next week, you don't know what the weather's going to be this time of year. So they all come out and helped, and it was amazing. And of course, you might know Sunday morning it started blowing wind. You know, Satan don't never want you to accomplish nothing. But with all their help, we come together. It was so amazing that day. It's just like the day was extended. Nobody got in a hurry. We took our time. We got all that up in one day. And I have to say, with all the help, both my son-in-laws, another fellow from church, and a in-law from church, we got it put up, no problem. And we was done by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That amazed me. And I think it's the best job that we've ever done. So I just want to personally thank everyone that come down and helped us, and then missing church to help us. And I know the Lord would know that's fine. They did a good work on that day. So all of us appreciate them from the bottom of our heart. We want to thank them very, very much. So thank you very much. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for subscribing and commenting. May God bless each and every one of you.